Hello everyone and welcome to the third game of the new Chess Classic Finals. It's again Magnus Carlsen versus Hikaru Nakamura, or rather Hikaru has the white pieces here. In the first game of the second match, Hikaru was able to bounce back, and now Magnus needs a win to get back into the match, otherwise Hikaru will be able to force tie breaks. And now second game ended in a draw. It was a threefold repetition, but Hikaru did get an edge. He wasn't interested in trying to push for more. He rather drew that game and then wanted to go for a win again with the white pieces in this one. And thank you for all the constructive comments regarding the lighting, or regarding the sound and everything. Like I said, I barely managed to move yesterday and started recording here, but I am planning to fix everything in the I hope in the coming weeks. So I do have some ideas of how to tackle the sound issue. I know there's echo. It's not a lot, but I myself am not a fan of echo, so I imagine most of you guys aren't either. But like I said, I will be tackling that next week, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully everything will get fixed very quickly. But getting back to the game, it's Hikaru with the white pieces again, and he is looking for his chances to force tie breaks. So he has the white pieces and he opens with d4. We have d5 by Magnus, c4, we have e6, and knight to c3. And this one, Magnus doesn't go for some bishop to b4 action, rather he goes for a6. This is the Janowski variation, and it is it is not extremely rare, but it is much rarer than all the other continuations mostly. So here we have captures, and bishop to f4 by Hikaru. We have knight to f6 and now e3, preparing to develop the light square bishop. Bishop to d6 by Magnus, attacking black's bishop here, and now just the bishop captures on d6. Magnus recaptures, bishop to d3, and now there are some 30-something games in the database where black just castles here, but Magnus goes bishop to g4, attacks Hikaru's queen, and it is already as of move 8 that we have a completely new game. So let's see how Hikaru deals with it. He goes queen to b3, puts more pressure on the center here, but also attacking that b7 pawn. Magnus just continues development, knight to c6, and while you can capture here, could be a pretty dangerous grab. Black will just castle, then you can start harassing the queen, and the white still needs at least 2 moves to castle. So you're doing okay in the match. You don't want to overcomplicate things for no reason. So here h3, pushing back Magnus's bishop to h5, and now knight g to e2, getting ready to castle. And here Magnus does something very interesting. He gives up the bishop for knight here. If this knight comes to f4, it's going to be an incredibly strong piece. You're not really going to be able to get rid of it that easily without any maybe maneuvers, knight here to captures, or by pushing g5 at some point in the future. So Magnus just eliminates it. Hikaru captures with the other knight, and now Magnus castles. We have rook to c1, and now Magnus knows that it could be an issue because the c7 pawn is a bit weak. If this queen ever comes to c3, then could be a problem. So he just immediately brings it back. Knight to d8. Now he's gonna improve his position with c6. Also, the knight now defends the pawn, and the knight is coming to e6 sometimes in the future. So here, queen to a3. Hikaru offers a queen trade, but now queen back to d7. Magnus not interested. He wants to look for his chances on the king side. We have castles by Hikaru, and now g6. We have knight to f4. Finally, the knight reaches this very nice square, and rook to e8 by Magnus. Simply continuing development. We have bishop to c2. Hikaru now wants to shift the knight over to e5, so he freed the d3 square for the knight, and now just c6, strengthening the center here. We have knight to d3 as planned, and only now knight to e6 by Magnus. We have f4. Now creating a beautiful central outpost for this knight on e5, and here knight to g7 by Magnus. And now, while Hikaru can immediately bring the knight over to e5, he plays a very, very interesting move and pushes f5 right away, which looks like a straight up pawn sacrifice, but it's really not, because if you capture this pawn, then we get knight to c5 with an attack on the queen, and also there's a double attack on this knight now. So Hikaru would be able to just capture here and open up Magnus's king side. So Magnus, instead, after this f5 move, he just continues with the g5, and now already things are getting very interesting. We have knight to e5. This is now officially a monster knight. Maybe not right away because the knights still can challenge this knight, but it's not easy. For the moment, the queen is on d7, and you don't really have the option of challenging this knight from this square. It is possible, however, not quite right away. So queen to c7 also might be freeing up the d7 square for the knight, and now h4. Hikaru wants to bust open the position here, but Magnus says, nope, we're keeping it closed. I'm just going to play g4 here. We have queen back to c3, and now comes knight g to h5. And now these knights are getting, well, very, very close for comfort here, and Hikaru plays queen to e1 now. But queen to e1 allows, well, a very, very interesting move here by Magnus. So feel free to pause the video here. What would you do here? You have everything nicely set up here, but, you know, it's required to do something more. So have at it. What would you play here? While I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding the, exchange sacrifice with rook captures on e5, and also for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's rook captures on e5, d captures is what Hikaru played, and queen captures on e5. So now Hikaru is up the exchange, but those knights are looking really, really good. And well, for the moment, the rook not really doing all that much. The bishop is helping out with the defense of the f5 pawn, but Hikaru will definitely need to fight very hard to defend this. So here we have queen to c3. He offers a queen trade right away. Magnus goes queen to g3, and Hikaru goes back, queen to e1. He wants to trade queens, but Magnus, of course, not interested. He goes all the way back, queen to d6. We have queen to f2, and now keeping an eye on some very, very important squares. And now we have rook to e8, bringing the final attacker into the game. We have rook c to d1, and now comes queen to e5. So what do you play here as white? Here, Hikaru played rook to d4. He grabs control of the fourth rank, but well, it's not easy to hold this. While Magnus could go for queen captures on e3, I think this would only help white. In the end, black is better still here, but Hikaru would definitely get fighting chances here. So instead, we have just c5, pushing Hikaru's rook back, and Hikaru brings it back to d2. So rook to d2, but now Magnus just gets the knight into the game. Knight to g3. And now the rook is under attack. We have rook f to d1, putting more pressure on the d5 square. And now Magnus, not in a rush, he just improves the position with king to f8. So what do you play here? Hikaru tries rook to d3, now not allowing Magnus to capture on e3 any longer, but now just knight f to e4, and the queen is under attack here. And Hikaru has only one good move here, pretty much, but even that's not enough. It's the best fighting chance he has, probably to just capture on d5 here, and then, well, both of the queens are now under attack, but Magnus would capture on b2, then bishop captures here, for example. Queen captures on f2, we trade, king captures, knight captures on e4, and Hikaru is up the exchange, but the problem is Magnus would have this fork here, so after the king moves, because the king is in check, knight c3, and now one of the rooks will fall. You make any move with the rook, we're just going to capture the knight, captures, and now rook captures on e3, Magnus is up 2 pawns, and this is a winning endgame. So Hikaru doesn't like this, his queen is under attack, so he just goes back, queen to e1, and now Magnus goes queen to f6. And now you really don't have a way of defending against this, it's a very, very straightforward idea. Hikaru plays rook captures on d5, but now queen captures on h4. We have bishop captures on e4, removing one of the attackers, but of course Magnus does not recapture, we have to go in for the kill. He plays queen to h1 with check, king to f2, and now knight captures on e4. Now this comes with check, so king to e2, and now queen captures on g2 with check. We have king to d3 by Hikaru, but it was also in this position as Hikaru played king to d3 on move 39 that Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game, and with this Magnus bounces back in the match. So now the match is a tie, and if the fourth game ends in a draw, or if Magnus wins it, he wins the entire thing, and if Hikaru wins it, then he can force tie break. So we'll see what happens as Hikaru just well, he blundered terribly here with the white pieces, but, you know, he can still do some damage with the black pieces here. So here you resign. I'm just going to show a fun line here. For example, c4 check. You just start bringing the white king closer into the position. Queen c2 check, king b4, and now we can just, you know, queen captures on b2, king a5. Now we can, you know, harass the white king either way we want. One of the nicer ways is knight to d6. Problem now is that the knight cannot be captured because of this checkmate, and other than that, well, knight to c4 ideas like that are coming, and there's not much for you to do here. If you play something like queen b4, offer a queen trade, we're just gonna play b6 with check. And now again, what do you play here? If you capture this with the queen, it's really not a problem. Queen to a3 is checkmate, the knight covers b5, and if you don't do this, well, you might do something like king to a4, but then queen captures on a2 with check. Queen a3, queen to c4 with check, queen to b4, now b5 with check. And again, not much for you to do here. If you go up the board, then queen to c7, so you have to go down the board, and then comes rook captures on e3. Finally, this rook joins the game with tempo. Rook 1 to d3, and now we're gonna capture. Captures, and now of course captures with check. And now black is up material here, and now even after king to a2, we can even trade here. So, you know, being all sneaky about it, captures, and now, of course, the endgame is completely winning. I'm showing this just because I know how much you guys enjoy this, because I know a lot of you guys will be, but yes, but how does he actually win? Well, that's how he actually wins. So yeah, that's the third game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Magnus winning. He bounces back in the match, and we'll see what happens in game 4. So stay tuned for that. I would also like to thank Callan Lancaster, Dustin Lackey, Rob Toy, Tom Derelau, and Ricardo Rolls for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Noon Chess Classic, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess tour. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.